Honourable members, it's now the turn of Honourable Kojo Oppong Nkrumah. 15 minutes.
Mr. Speaker, I thank you for the opportunity to contribute to the motion currently before the House, that this House should approve the mid-year report or review of the budget and economic policy for the 2025 financial year. Mr. Speaker, I know that a lot of people will be expecting at a time like this that our colleagues on the other side will say everything that has happened so far is good. And then those on this side will be saying everything that has happened is bad. But Mr. Speaker, you see, we are very patriotic. On this side, we are very patriotic. And so where we have to give commendation, we will give commendation. Where we have to critique, we will give the necessary critique. Where we have to draw your attention to some things, we will do so. And then where we have to caution you, we will do so. Mr. Speaker, I will be speaking on only 4 matters. First are observations that are worthy of commendation. If you look at the fiscal program that the Minister for Finance presented to us earlier this year, and you look at the critique that we gave as a side of the House, and then you look at the returns that he has brought to us in the mid-year review, Mr. Speaker, I will commend him for listening. And let me show you. When the minister came to the House, he came with a fiscal program. He said he was going to raise revenue of 102 billion Ghana cedis without introducing new taxes. Let no soul say he wasn't here on that day. We all recall when he said he was going to increase tax to GDP ratio from 13 to 18% without introducing new taxes. And I remember us drawing his attention to the fact that that was not possible. In fact, he told us that despite the removal of taxes, which he was promising, the way he was going to close the 6 billion CD gap was that he was going to reduce VAT retention threshold from 6% to 4%, and that will close the gap. I'm sure you all remember. The outturns have come. And now you are beginning to realize that the minister's revenue strategy, originally as he presented, has failed. Remember that the minister clawed back about 11 billion Ghana cedis swept from 31st December, and then has introduced 8 new taxes to try to close that gap. And despite that, the evidence that his strategy has failed is that revenue has underperformed by 3 billion Ghana cedis. The revenue situation is short of 3 billion Ghana cedis. But why I commend him is that on the expenditure side, contrary to the program he brought to us, that he was going to spend 128 billion, because of the critique that it's important to cut about 3% of GDP. You recall when we said 3% of GDP, about 30 billion Ghana cedis has to cut. He has now gone and has cut, if you look at the numbers he's presented to us, half year he has cut 19 billion. 19 billion Ghana cedis. And if you model to the end of the year, by the end of the year, that 30 billion that we are saying is what needs to be cut, is where he will be heading to. And so I commend him for listening. But Mr. Speaker, I'll show him where the problem still is. We want to also draw his attention, if you look at what they are doing, if you look at the report, if you look at what they are doing on the currency. Today, the currency has appreciated by about 42%. That's a matter of fact. Why? Among other things, is the fact that we are backing our currency with gold. I recall Ricketts Hagan, Deputy Majority Leader, on his feet here, admitting that one of the major reasons for which our currency has appreciated is because we are backing it with gold. Mr. Speaker, the gold purchase program, which is one of the major contributors to where we are today, was launched on the 17th of June, 2021. So I commend the government for continuing with the gold purchase program. The gold purchase program was being done by the Bank of Ghana and the PMMC. By the Bank of Ghana and the PMMC. The Bank of Ghana is still here. The PMMC is what you've rebranded as Gold Board. And so I give you commendation for continuing the gold purchase program. It was a gold purchase program that moved us from 8.7 tons of gold to 30 tons of gold when we started. The third commendation I'll give is for continuing with the inflation reduction program. Remember that when the international crisis hit us, inflation went as high as 54%. And then the central bank started the tight monetary policy aimed at bringing it down. That was what brought inflation down from 54% to 23% by the time we were leaving power. And as you came, you are continuing. And so the first part of my submission is to commend you for continuing the gold purchase program, continuing the inflation reduction program, and continuing or following the fiscal critique that we gave. But Mr. Speaker, you see, when we say this government is not spending, sometimes they confuse it for fiscal discipline. I heard the chairman of the Economic Committee, my very good friend, Honorable Afo, suggesting that what is happening is fiscal discipline. Honorable Chairman, it is not. There's a difference between fiscal discipline and a failure to meet fiscal targets. When you program that you are going to raise 102 billion and that you will spend 128 billion and achieve a primary balance of 0.4%, fiscal discipline is when you are able to do that. When you fail to raise the revenue and you fail to spend, that's not fiscal discipline. And because you are not raising the revenues that are required so that you can spend, this fiscal failure, the consequence is that you are failing to deliver on some essential public goods and services. You see, when you fail on fiscal policy or fiscal program, it will hit you in the goods and services and it will hit you in development. My brother, the deputy minister, or my brother, the minister, is asking me such as, I will show you. You see, one of the public goods and services is security. One of the public goods and services, Honorable Mutala, is security. You asked me, I'm responding to you. One of the public goods and services is security. To be able to provide security, you have to release money so that the intelligence agencies can gather intelligence and act on it. When you fail to meet the fiscal program, you can't even pay the allowances for intelligence officers. So, and I regret to say this, but because you asked, that's what I'm telling you. So when people plan that they are going to Nalerigu Senior High School to commit murder, your intelligence agencies can't pick it up because you are not spending. When you are not releasing the funds for intelligence work to be done, when people are plotting insecurity, your intelligence system can't pick it up. You asked me about examples of the public goods and services that will suffer. Let me give you some more examples. Take your flagship programs. You said you are going to do a national apprenticeship program. So far, because of the fiscal failure, you have only been able to release 7% of the budget. Because of the fiscal failure, your 1 million coders program, you have released 0% of the budget. Because of the fiscal failure, the Agric for Economic Transformation agenda, you've released 0% of the budget. The Women's Development Bank, you've released 0% of the budget. The Big Push, you've released 0% of the budget, and you are still listing old road projects that have been commissioned. So I'm drawing your attention to the fact that because you misconceived the fiscal program, it is showing where you have to release money. And you cannot keep going on failing to release money. Because if you do not release the money, public goods and services and development will struggle. People are looking for hospitals in their constituencies. Because of fiscal failure, you haven't been able to add one cement block to Agenda 111. Why? Because you are not raising and spending. How often can you tell people who are not getting the public goods and services that you promised that what you have done is that you brought the primary balance to 1.1? It's like a father who says that I am piling up all my salary in the bank account, but I won't pay my children's school fees, I won't pay their medical bills. When they ask me, I say the bank account is looking nice. That is what is going on. And that is why we are drawing your attention to the fact, though we've commended you in some areas, that you can't continue like this. Mr. Speaker, there are some recommendations we want to make. These are recommendations about some things that must be sustained. So, for example, let me speak about the currency. Now, the IMF has exposed you that part of what you are doing on the currency front is that you are dumping about $1.5 billion from the reserves that we left you onto the market to suppress the currency. And they have advised you that you should desist from that. The question is, how do you sustain an appreciation of the currency? We've already come to an understanding of why the currency has appreciated and what you are even doing as part of it. But how do you sustain it? Mr. Speaker, I have told you that we are patriotic. We will give record. We are not like those who would prevent you from laying papers on the floor or laying bills or fighting on the floor for political advantage. We will give you feedback and advice where necessary. So, Mr. Speaker, for example, on the currency front, what the government, we are advising in all humility, what the government should do is to take a lot more seriously the whole exercise of ensuring that exporters retire the forex earnings, properly so-called, back into the jurisdiction. The LOC requirements is what they should pay attention to. If you don't do that and you do an artificial dumping, today gold prices are high, so you are benefiting. What will happen tomorrow when gold prices are not high? Will you have $1.4 billion every 6 months to be dumping onto the market? No. As Honorable Minister, in all humility, your brothers and sisters on this side, we mentioned to you that to sustain the currency gains, pay more attention to the proper retirement of forex earnings, not an artificial dumping. Because today, if you dump currency artificially on the market and you suppress the rates, Governor Siama will have the rate, but Abochi will have the dollar. Today, a lot of importers are complaining that even when they file paperwork at the banks for transfer of forex, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, they are not getting it. So if you go ahead with this artificial dumping and suppression, what will happen is that Governor Siama, as I told you, will have the rate, but Abochi will have the dollar. Mr. Speaker, on the revenue measures, our recommendation is that some of the revenue measures you have introduced are in the long run going to take inflation back up. We said it when you introduced the Doomsor levy at midnight, when you waited for everybody to go to bed and you brought the Doomsor levy. We told you that extra levies on petroleum eventually will translate into inflation. For us, you say because we don't have goodwill, we should keep quiet. If you like, don't listen to us. Your own Governor Siama is drawing your attention to the fact that it is a risk for increased inflation in the medium term. And so our advice is that some of these panic revenue measures, you originally misconceived the fiscal program. You are now panicking and you've introduced 8 new taxes. Some of them, like the Doomsor levy, like the special import levy that you have introduced, they are going to translate into inflation at some point in time. It will be good for you to pull them back now at this point in time and rather look at what you can do on the expenditure side to cut. And talking of expenditure cuts, if there is a place where the 24-hour economy is needed the most now, is the Public Investment Division at the Finance Ministry. Why? Because that is where public-private partnerships are conceptualized. That is where they need to be working around the clock so that you can crowd in private funding to support what you cannot fund from the Treasury. And so your brothers and sisters on this side will give you feedback that pay attention to these things. I'm going to end with a caution. Mr. Speaker, the cost of government services is going to go up because fees and charges are being put up by about 30 to 40%. Electricity is going up by about 16%, in addition to the 8 new taxes. And so the government should take caution that the measures are going to increase the cost of government services, eventually the cost of doing business, and eventually the cost of living because of inflation. We also asked them finally to tone down on the propaganda. The list that the Minister for Finance brought, now people on social media are drawing his attention to the fact that that is not the price of Yaz sanitary pad. What he came to list here, people are drawing his attention to it. The minister came here and claimed that there was no gold for oil program. The Bank of Ghana itself concedes that there was a gold for, in fact, if there was no gold for oil program, why did you make the announcement that you have cancelled the gold for oil program? That propaganda, stop it. For example, your road projects that you have listed, a good chunk of them are a repackage of already existent road programs. You don't need that propaganda to try and create effect.
Conclude.
Mr. Speaker, I'll conclude by saying that we will commend you where commendation is due. But we will also give you critique in good faith. If you take it and you adjust, it will help all of us. The propaganda is too much. For now, because you listened, your fiscal program, you are beginning to adjust it, but it's not sustainable. If you adopt the advice that we are giving you, the Republic will be the better for it. I thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity.